Okay, for this video, I actually wanted to create the game that we made during the day again, rather than just using the video that we filmed. The reason being that I can hopefully show a couple of other things along the way and try and do it in a little bit of a quicker way. So, if you remember, we started a blank project, and we were doing an iPad landscape application. And we called this one Monster Whack. Oops. Okay, so the first thing we did was to go to the scenes and create two more. So the first scene was our menu, second scene was our game, next one was the game over page. Okay, so I'll double click this one, but the first thing I want to do is to bring in the images and the sounds here. So with the images, we can click the plus button. On the desktop, I've got the folder that I was using before. I'll just select all of them, resize them all to fit. Okay, so there's our images in there, and then the sounds will do exactly the same thing. Now remember, this is in the Mac version. In the Windows version it will look slightly different. There is a video underneath this one that tries to explain some of the differences between how the Windows and the Mac version work. So we've now got all of our images in here and all of our sounds as well. The first thing we're going to do now is to create some of the actors that are going to be the things on our front page, on our menu page. Click to create some actors. So we'll create a few. First one is going to be the top part of the title, because if you remember we've got the graphics split into two bits. This one is going to be the play button. This one's going to be a monster. I'll call it menu as well, 1, so I know it's on the menu page. Same with this one, and then we'll have, okay, so we're now going to drag some of these images over the top of these pieces. So we've got some graphics on them. Play button. And one more for the moon. Okay, so now what we can start to do is to place some of these into our scene to create our title page. Slightly off the page there. These are very big. We'll just resize them down a bit. Okay, so we can preview that and see how it looks. See if it's how we want it to be. Okay, that looks alright. So, we need to obviously give this play button some programming, some instructions so it knows what to do, because at the moment it doesn't do anything. So we get into the play button here, and we're going to create a rule that when the touch is pressed, so when someone touches it, it's going to play the following sound. Sounds okay. So we drop that in. Okay, so we can preview this again. Okay, but it doesn't do anything apart from that. So we also want it to take us to the game page. So we're going to add a behavior, change scene to the game, but we need to put that in a rule. So I'm going to click on this and create a rule first. And for this one, we're going to have when the touch is actually released. So when it's pressed it makes the noise, and when your finger's released it changes to the game page. So let's test that. Okay, so that now takes us there. So that's a working play button and menu page at the moment. What we might want to do actually is to add some music for the game at this point. We could put that into any of the actors here to start playing the music. We'll use the play button again, and we'll simply just add the play music, and it's this one here called music, and we want it to loop as well so it keeps playing. Okay, so we can test that. When we press that, it's still playing when we get into the game. Okay, so that's the start. So we're now going to move on to the game page, and on this one we're going to need some new actors. Actually, we could just reuse this moon from here, actually. That would be okay, because it's got no programming anyway. It's just a still picture. So we could put that in the background. I want it nice and big. I'm going to use these craters for the monsters to come out of. Okay, so we'll place that roughly in the middle, just there. And then we're going to add 5 new actors. We're going to call these okay, so all the different monsters. Actually, we're not going to do that this time. That's what we did before. I'm going to show you a better way. We're actually going to create one this time, and we'll just call it Monster Game. I'll explain why in a minute. So this one, we're going to place them over our different craters. Okay. So I could actually have more now. Just here. Okay, so we've got all those. Now we don't want them to be white squares, so we're actually going to drag an image onto this, but not any of the monsters. It's going to be this transparent one, so they're actually invisible. Okay, at the moment. We'll look at the programming now inside this. So what we would like is for the monsters to appear, and then we can touch them, hit them, and then they'll disappear again. So we're going to create some simple rules to do that. First one is going to be a timer. So we want the monster to appear after, and we're going to use this random tool here. So a random number of seconds between 1 and 10. So sometime between 1 and 10 seconds, we'll tick this on, it's going to change its image, so it's no longer transparent. It's going to change its image to one of our different monsters. Okay, so for now I'll just choose the blue one. Okay, but I'll show you another way we'll do it in a minute so that it could change into any of them. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, so it's going to change after a random number of seconds to blue. So let's just preview that. So they should all start appearing in a minute as the blue one, sometime between 1 and 10 seconds. There they all are. Okay, so that's a good start. Now we want them obviously to go back again after a little bit of time. So for this one, it's a timer that says after a random number of seconds between, well, we'll say they can stay between 1 and 4 seconds. We want it to change its image back to the transparent one. Okay, so let's test that now, see what happens. Didn't quite work how we wanted it to. These two have appeared and now they've gone. These ones haven't disappeared. So actually we need some more instructions here. It doesn't really understand when this one happens or when this one happens, so it's kind of doing both at the same time. So we're going to wrap each one in a rule. So the first one says, if the attribute of this, its image, is transparent, then it'll change to this one after a random number of seconds. This one, we want the attribute image if it is blue. Okay, then it will do this one. So now we should have, hopefully, these things coming on and off. Okay, and they'll keep appearing and keep disappearing at different times. Okay, so that works okay at the moment. But at the moment, excuse me, they're only changing into the blue one at the moment. Okay, so we want it to actually change into a number of different ones. Okay, so what we're actually going to do here this time is, actually, no, it's a little complicated to do it that way. I think we'll stick to the old way of doing it actually this time. So we'll do it in the same way as how we did it during the lesson. So we'll go with this way here at the moment. So we want something else on here as well. So actually let's go back, we'll make our changes then. So we'll delete all of these ones. So we've just got this monster here and we'll have this one as monster 1 again. We'll go back to the old way of doing it. It's a bit simpler. Okay, so we've got the blue one here now, and what we're going to do is that we want it so that it can be hit, okay, now while it's actually appearing. So we're going to create a rule that says if touch is pressed, then one of these sounds, we'll put it in here. So there's a start, so it will now do something hopefully when it is pressed. However, it's still doing it even when it's invisible. So if we go back, what we've actually got to do is add another one here. It's not just if it's pressed, it's also only if its image is blue. Okay, so we play this again. So there's nothing at the moment. Okay, so it only makes the noise when it's actually on. Okay, so that's a good start. Now, we also want the little hit graphic to come up as well. So to do that, I'm going to create a new actor and we'll call it whack. And the image for this, we'll use one of these. So we'll use this one. Okay, now what we're going to want it to do in the monster, if touch is pressed and the image is blue, which is right, it does this sound, but we also want it to do something else. We want it to spawn an actor, and this actor is whack in front. Now that's okay, but it'll appear, but then it won't disappear because this whack actor doesn't know what to do when it's actually appeared. So we're going to need some programming in here as well, for which we're just going to use a timer which says after 0.1 seconds destroy. So it'll disappear after 0.1 seconds. So let's have a go. Okay. Okay, that seems to be working okay. Maybe its size is a little big, so we'll change its size down a bit. Okay, let's try that. Perfect. Okay, at this point I'm going to save the project, just because GameSalad does occasionally crash, so we'll save what we're doing. Okay, now we'll come back. So what else do we want this monster to do? We want it actually to increase a score. Now we don't have a score at the moment on here, so we're going to have to create that first. Now for this one, the score is going to be a whole game attribute which is stored here. So we click the plus to create a new one. As we said before, an integer is a whole number. So if I choose an integer value, and I call this one score, the computer now knows that it understands something called score, and it's got a value of 0 at the moment. Okay, so with the monster, what we also want then, as well, every time it's hit, when it's on, it makes the whacking graphic, it makes the noise, but we also need it to increase the score. So we do that with a change attribute here, and we're going to change, it's a game attribute called score, we're going to change it to game attribute score plus 1. Okay, so it's 1 bigger every time. Okay, now that's fine and that will work, but we won't be able to see it at the moment. So we need to, on our actual game, create an actor we'll call score, and this actor, what it's going to have in it is a display text, and the text we want to display is not that, we want to display that game score attribute, so it shows it. Now at the moment it's in different font, so we'll change that. I would like it a little bigger. White is okay, but if you look, the box is also white, so we're going to change the box to transparent. Okay, and then we'll just put the score down in the corner here. Okay, so we'll just save again and test that. So we can see it's there. Okay, and it goes up every time I hit the monster. Okay, so that's working well. At this point, we can probably say, well, that's all the rules we want for the monster. So I could actually copy this one. I can Command C and V. So I'm actually going to copy this one and rename these. Now at the moment these are all the blue monster, so I'm going to go to number 2, and actually this time I'm going to have it as the two other ones have we got red. So then I must make sure I change all these other times it says blue to make sure that it's the red one. I think that's everything. Okay, so that's that one done. Number 3 we will have as the yellow one. Okay. Number 4 as the green one. And then number 5 can be the violet one at the end. Okay, so now what we need to do is to put those monsters into the scene. They're a little big at the moment. I'm going to resize some of those down. Okay, so we'll save again and let's preview that now. Score goes up. Okay, so that works okay. What I might choose to do at this point actually is to go into these monster actors and just change the noise that each one makes, because I've actually got 6 different sound effects here for kind of hitting stuff. Okay, so we've all got a different sound when they're hit. So that's okay, so the score counts up. We could even put a little title on our score, make another actor called score title, and in this one it's going to display text, just the word score, in the same font, same size, with a transparent background. So if I drag this one in now, I can kind of place it above. It's difficult to see where it's going to be, maybe a little over to the right. Perfect. And test those sounds as well. A different sound now. Okay, that works good. Okay, so we've got that at the moment, but the thing, the game now goes on forever. So we're going to need something that tells us that the game's over. So we're going to do that with a time limit. So you're going to have just 30 seconds to get as many as you can. So to do that, we're going to go back to the attributes, create another thing that the computer's going to remember. At the moment it's remembering this score. We're going to make it remember another one, another integer, so a whole number, and we'll call this one timer. Okay, and we want that to start at 30, so it's going to be 30 seconds. Okay, now we're going to create an actor. We'll call that the same, we'll call it timer. Go into that, and it needs to display for us this attribute we just made, timer, under game. Again, the same font, same size, on a transparent background. So we can put that one in. Did that go in? No. Okay, that's there now. So if we play it, it's just going to say 30 and stay saying 30. It's not going to change. Okay, so we need to give it some more rules so that it counts down. So to do that, inside the timer actor, what we would like is we're actually going to put a timer that says for every 1 second we're going to change this attribute timer to timer -1. Okay, so now if we play the game, okay, the timer's now counting down, score goes up. Now that's fine, but this timer's not actually going to stop. I'm not told this timer to do anything. I have to keep counting, so in a moment we'll see what happens when it hits 0. Right. Problem. It's gone into minus numbers, gone into negative numbers. So we need another rule here that says when that attribute of timer equals 0, we're going to change the scene to game over screen. Okay, so now when it hits 0, it'll change to game over. Okay, so it's kind of that one completed. So if we go now to the game over screen, it's completely blank at the moment. So what we're going to add, we'll add maybe a graphic to this one. Actually, I'll just use one of the ones I've got. I'll use this one. Make it nice and big. And then I'm going to add a new actor called Game Over. And this is going to show some text for us. So we'll display some text here that says Game Over. Same font, slightly bigger size this time. place that here. Let's see if that works. Okay, maybe I'll put it up a little bit so it doesn't cover his eyes. Let's try it there. Okay, not too bad. So that then now tells us the game's over. But again, it'll just sit there on this page, so we need to tell it to go back to the menu page. So what we'll do is, this time, rather than having a button, we'll just use a timer that says, after 3 seconds, change scene to the menu. Okay, so let's just go straight to that page. So 3, 2, 1, back here. Okay, now we might also put a sound in there as well. That one I do. Okay, so we'll put that there too. So now it should play a sound and then go back to the start. Okay, and off we go, ready to start again. Now there's a slight problem with this because we've not told the score or the timer to reset themselves. So actually, if we start playing again after we come back, our score will still be in the same place and our timer will start at 0, which won't work well. So what we need to do is we need to tell it to reset those things. Now I could put them just here in the game over. I could say change attribute score and change attribute timer back to what I want. But I might want to put another actor in here that says you scored and tell you how much you actually scored. Okay, so I'll make one that says you scored, which is simply again going to just display some text. Okay, so that's just a piece of information. Put that one here. Let's see if it fits. Not quite. Maybe we'll put it underneath the game over actually. Let's have a look. Okay, and then we've got a space then underneath that to actually put what we scored. We'll call this one scored. And this one is going to display some more text. It's going to display that attribute score. Okay, so we'll now drag in that one, so scored, and go right underneath just here. Okay, so if we just preview this, it'll say 0, so that's what we scored at the moment. Okay, so that's fine. Take us back. Okay, now obviously we've got to reset these scores as we said, so what we'll do in this game over actor, it says after 3 seconds, go back to the menu page, but we also want it to reset everything. So we'll put in change attribute score back to 0, ready for the next play, and we'll also change that timer back to 30 seconds. Okay, so that'll now reset everything ready to start. So what we have now hopefully is a pretty finished, simple game. So let's have a test of this now and see if it does what we want it to do. So we start off. Back to the start, and hopefully everything's reset, which it has, so we can now play again. Okay, so very simply, that's our game completed. Obviously you can make lots of changes to it and add in your own things on there as well, but that's a very simple game.